Let's start our lecture. So this week is teaching week 7. So today we will talk about climate change. Okay, climate change. It's lecture 6. Okay, climate change. It's a very hot topic, right? Discussed. Not only those environmental specialists are concerning about that one. Even government leaders, they consider this issue as very serious problem. Okay. Including the entire world, they all consider this issue, okay, as a serious issue. So of course there are some countries, they are reluctant to fight against the climate change problem, but some countries are very active, all right?
China is replacing the coal industry with the gas.
So yes, so China is also taking certain serious measures. So which we will talk in more detail now, okay? Anyway, so what is causing that climate change? Industries, okay? Because of that fossil fuel burning, right? They have those greenhouse emission, right? Greenhouse gas emission, which really causes that climate change. So the question is that fossil fuel emission or greenhouse gas emission? Is it really a big problem?
Yes.
So is it better if we make it just zero emission of any type of gas?
It will be like even worse.
It's impossible.
Because you have
So let's say if you are able to make it completely eradicated, now there is no any type of gas available in the atmosphere.
but is there an industry like still working, still functioning?
So even though if it's not going to harm to our industries, okay?
It will start to cool.
Very good point, okay? So still, gas that we have, okay, on the planet is also very necessary for us to survive, okay? If there is no greenhouse gas on the planet, in this, troposphere, on the surface of the Earth, it means that the weather is going to be below zero, okay? Below zero, which means that living on the planet will not be possible, okay? So therefore, that greenhouse, we still need it because it keeps our Earth warm. Okay, so it's comfortable for people to live. Alright? So if there is no, then we will have in this type of ice age century. Okay?
Good
So
morning, right?
good. So but the problem is, that greenhouse emission, okay, has increased dramatically, especially in this industrial revolution, okay? After those developments, those countries, they developed, right, they have been using more technologies, producing more, they are producing more energy, using coal, burning plants and many other types, all right, which are really increasing the level of greenhouse gas emission in the atmosphere, which really warms the weather of the planet, okay? And pollution with those production, which causes climate change problem on the Earth, okay? Good. And those scientists, according to their observations and research, they found out that compared to previous centuries, today, temperature is on average 1 degree higher, okay? 1 degree higher, which means now it's warmer. The change from 0 to 1, it is a very different change, right? Which means those ice is going to melt. So because of that problem, so now, the sea level of the Earth, okay, is now rising, okay? Which causes that melting issue, all right? And what is upset, that information that we have, okay, is all of those, emissions that are causing problem today, they are because of our activities, okay? Our activities. We are making all of those problems. Alright, human. This is something bad. Okay. So now there are predictions, predictions. According to the expectations, okay, by 2100, okay, the Earth's temperature is going to rise by 1.4 degrees Celsius, okay? Or it may by 2100, okay? Expected. Or by 5.8 Celsius. Unless certain strict measures are implemented. Okay? So if the situation is not going to change and the growth level is increasing that way, and that, you know, because of that growth, that pollution and all of those, you know, emissions of harmful gas is going to increase, that we may have that type of warmer climate of the earth, okay? Which is really bad, okay? And another fact is, you yourself, you may experience, okay, that the weather year by year is a bit different, okay? So personally, I'm not a very old person, right? So when I was young, I remember that in Uzbekistan we had, you know, during the winter we had a lot of snow. A lot of snow. We used to play snowball fighting, whatever. It was really nice, you know, winter. But today, it's, you know, during the winter, it's really difficult. Once or twice, and you have only a little. But in some other parts of the world, like where they were not experiencing any type of snow, but there is a lot of snow. Or heavy rains in a place where there is no rain, you know, that in the past they did not have. Or experiencing drought, okay, no rain in other, which means that variation in precipitation is going to change year by year. Okay, that's the issue. Good. And another thing is, because of that warming, okay, the expectations are so that, you know, the sea level is expected by 2100 to rise from 9 centimeters to 88 centimeters. Okay. If you consider the lowest impact, that 9 centimeter rising of sea level, you may just expect, not thousands, millions of hectares of land is going to be under water. Okay? So that one is another issue. Good. Regarding some evidence, for example, last year in 2018, okay? In Japan, they experienced one of the hottest summer in their history, okay? And the temperature, they maximum reached 41.1 Celsius. Is it very hot in the case of Uzbekistan?
No.
It's normal, right? It's normal. But weather of Uzbekistan and Japan is very different.
Our weather is dry.
Our weather is dry, but in Japan, that humidity level is very high, okay? If it's 40, in Uzbekistan, it's like if it reaches 70 Celsius, you feel like this, over 60, okay? Because of humidity, it's impossible to even breathe, so hot, okay? So as a result of that, you know, hot weather in Japan, very developed country, you know, that the infrastructure and medical services are perfect, okay? Hundreds of people died because of that heat, okay? And more than 30,000 people, they were hospitalized, okay? Good. And another extreme example is here regarding Europe in 2003, okay? I think you heard about Black Friday, yes?
Yeah.
And I believe you heard about Black Tuesday. Black Tuesday is the day when, you know, that Great Depression in the United States started. They call it Black Tuesday, when stock markets, you know, they climbed and decreased. That was Tuesday, which was the beginning, 29. It was the beginning of that Great Depression. So Black Tuesday. But there is Black Monday too. Okay? So Black Monday, when in France, okay, in one night, more than 3,000 people died because of heat. Okay? Because of heat. So those, you know, experts in France, they're saying that, you know, even during the war, that World War II, the greatest war, in France they did not lose 3,000 people overnight. Okay? But because of that hot weather, they lost 30,000 people. Of course, most of them, they were elderly people. Anyway, they are people, right? Okay? Our grandfathers and grandmothers. Good. And another case, you know, regarding pollution, that 2015 statistics, they are telling that about 9 million people, they die because of pollution problems. Okay? Their health is affected by pollution. Okay? If you consider the UK, United Kingdom, okay, one of the richest countries in the world, okay, because of pollution, okay, more than 50,000 people die annually. Okay? And that warm weather, which is causing, that increase in sea level, storms, okay, and it's daily news, okay, almost.
That's New York.
It's just ammunition, anyway, okay? So anyway, so this is causing really big troubles, okay? In some parts of Europe, it was very bad, and many other countries, they're experiencing that type of problem. Okay. Good. Look, if the rate of temperature increases, the ecosystems adapt to the change. Then it is true. If, let's say, temperature changes, let's say, that the summer or year by year is a little getting warmer and warmer and warmer, right? Ecosystem, adapts to it. It's no doubt. Let's say if the weather in Uzbekistan average temperature in summer, if it changes from 30 to 40, you will expect that some of the trees, they will not be able to be grown in our country. Okay? But we will replace them with some other type of trees. Okay? Or people who are, if they really feel hot, they will be adapting to that temperature by using the air conditioners and fans and many other stuff. Or wearing those cool clothes, right? So we adapt. But this adaptation, okay, is only possible when there is slow change. Okay? If the change is abrupt, fast, people or whatever technology they apply is not able to stop that problem. Okay, in the code. For example, tundra, right? Tundra, which is covered by snow and ice, yes. And under that, 1,000-year-old of those ice, or millions of years of ice, there is, trapped methane gas. Okay? Methane gas. It's trapped there. Which means if weather gets warmer, and if it's released, okay, then it means it will do abrupt change. For example, this picture. You can see that people are the earth. Okay? Which means if this ice all melt, this kind of gas release will be just simple thing that which will affect the entire world. Okay? Tundra is not a small place. How much cubic meters of gas is trapped there, we don't know. Okay? Good. And hospitable and inhospitable planet, so the problem that really causes for climate change, they have certain type of pollutants, okay? And they have that type of greenhouse gas, which the first one is carbon dioxide, yeah? CO2. Chlorofluorocarbon, nitrous oxide, and methane, and some others. These are the main the contributors for climate change. So the emission of this greenhouse gas is now increasing the temperature, right? One thing that people are doing, we are increasing it by mostly burning that fossil fuels, right? We are driving cars or producing and all of that with energy, okay? Which causes we are producing more and more fossil fuels, which causes problem. Plus, people now, in order to grow more trees, we are cutting more trees. Okay, leveling those the forest just for the sake of doing business, or opening lands for agriculture, which also increases the level of climate change on the planet. Okay? And another thing, when those companies or whatever those cars or other factors, when they release those greenhouse gases to the atmosphere, okay, and usually it is kept in the troposphere layer of the planet, okay? It's kept here. And when we have that sunlight during the day, yes? So the weather gets warmer, right? Overnight it gets again cooler. So which means that that heat is, is going back, right? But when we have too much gas, okay, available in the atmosphere, then it makes like a blanket. It will make like a blanket, which means that it will keep that warm weather, hot weather within this area. Okay? It's not releasing back. So as a result, that heat is just gathering here, and the weather on the earth is getting warm. It's not releasing. Okay? So why we are saying the thermal blanket, this is thermal blanket. Okay? If let's say I give you 111, hand you over now, and at the beginning of the lecture you just wrap yourself with this one, by the end of the lecture, so there will be no difference that you have like shower. Okay? Because it's not going to release that heat of the body outside, so it's going to be inside of that one and you feel hot, right? So they are comparing it to thermal blanket because of that, the smoke or whatever the gas is, it's keeping that warm weather as it is thermal blanket, okay? That's the expectation. Good. And what about the externalities? We have talked about externalities, okay? Then it is no doubt that climate change usually causes mostly negative externalities, right? Okay? So these producers, they are producing goods and services, whatever, right? By emitting a lot of harmful gas, yes? Which is bad for people living in the neighborhood, yeah? Or some producers, that even they are throwing away all of those, dirty water or whatever, flowing it into those rivers where creatures and people drink it, yeah? So which is causing, really health issues to those third parties. But what about that, positive externalities? Are there any positive?
Yeah, of course, goods. Products.
Right. No, that product production is not externality, okay? They are producing it directly, they know
If it gets hotter, the farmers will have problems with the crops. They
It's negative.
negative.
What about positive one?
Positive one, it is usually in Russia. It's always cold.
Uh-huh.
But if it gets warmer,
Mm-hmm.
they can now.
They can have more cultivated land. They can cultivate more land. Okay, good. So let's say in Uzbekistan, the summer gets hotter and hotter and hotter. It means that companies like Coca-Cola, whatever, they will be doing really good business. Okay? Or ice cream shops, they will be selling more ice cream. Okay? Artel will be enjoying because they are selling more air conditioners. Okay? These are all positive externalities. Alright? So this is one positive externality that you may consider. Okay? Good. And then another thing is acid rain, okay? When all of this harmful gas, greenhouse gas is emitted, it's over our head, yeah? So it also may go down when it rains, yes? So the drops of rain, okay, takes it down to the earth, okay? Good. For example, if you have been to some, developed countries where production is too much, China or Korea, okay, if you are there, and after rain, okay, after rainy day, if you just walk in the streets, you can definitely see, that yellowish color powders, okay, on the streets. Sulfur, which comes, from the sky, okay? Then the rain takes it down. So therefore, people, they always keep their umbrellas over their head because it's very bad for hair. So if you are, carelessly walk, under that rain, maybe you will have, in early age, you will have baldness problem. Okay? Baldness problem. So people try to avoid it. Okay? And when is it even worse? Those industrialized countries or developing countries which are emitting a lot of that type of gas, which is going to come back to the earth with the rain, yes, like acid rain, is that rain, rain to the territory of that country?
No.
No, right? The problem is going to be even worse because it travels. It's not possible to keep that, you belong to us, you rain here. No. Okay, so they move. And according to the statistics, okay, to scientists, it travels, that smoke travels 300 to 1,000 kilometers away. Okay? Which crosses many borders of many countries. Okay? Good. And with this one, it's not only bad for people, but for marine life and for animals too. Okay? Good. So now, again, Kuznets inverted U-shaped hypothesis. Alright? There is a relationship between environmental degradation and income growth. Okay? Again. So, environmental degradation and wealth of the nation. So according to this hypothesis, when country experiences growth, okay, pollution and environmental degradation will increase in the country too. But when it reaches a certain level, then it will start falling. Okay? Good. We may consider the case of China, for example. 30 years ago, what was the percentage of absolutely poor people in China?
88%.
88%, right? 88% of Chinese people, they were absolutely poor just 30 years ago. Okay? So now, you may ask a question. Which one is more important for the country? Reducing pollution level or reducing poverty level? Poverty level is more
It can be
important, right?
predicted by saying like I will just keep the laser blue.
So for poor person, whatever the air condition is no matter. Okay? If he is hungry. What is the most important thing to just pull the empty stomach. Okay? So therefore, for example, Chinese government, we know that they are polluting, the pollution level is very high in China, yeah? It's very high. Chinese government, they know it, okay, that this is really bad thing, but we are doing it, okay? But of course, they have long-term strategies too. So maybe in China, I don't know exactly, they are somewhere here today. All right? Every year, they are producing more, selling more, getting more market share in the world, okay? Which means their GDP is growing year by year. At the same time, pollution level also increasing in this country, okay? In this country. But when China reaches this level, then when economically people are very satisfied, okay? So now then there will be more arguments about climate issue, okay? Now we reach that economic level which we are very satisfied. Now let's breathe fresh air. Okay? Let's breathe fresh air. For example, that gentleman at the beginning of the lecture he mentioned, for example, China mostly to produce energy they are using coal burning plants, yes? Which is the cheapest energy generator today. Okay? And at the same time, it is one of the worst enemies of climate. Okay? So, one thing, all, of course, in China, for example, they have those filters, okay, which is trying to reduce the level of pollution, smoke, okay? But those filters, whether they perfectly work or the high quality, we don't know. But when it reaches this level, okay, then China, as they're doing, okay, they will be shutting down, all right? So now we are rich enough to replace it with wind power, which is very expensive, okay, or solar energy. Let's replace it, and that way, Chinese, government they expect this one. In some rich countries today, okay, they are slowly reducing that pollution level today. Okay? They reach the zone and they're doing it actively. Good. Okay. So now, if you consider that strategies to prevent climate change, okay, there are three. The first one is climate engineering, which means that we have those specialists, okay, who are trained and they are finding the ways to reduce problems that we are causing. For example, those engineers, regarding that first problem, okay, the carbon dioxide removal, those scientists are finding some ways, okay, to remove it by certain, implementing certain kind of chemicals, okay. By using that one, they're able to reduce that carbon dioxide, okay, from the air or from the water. Okay, that way they're doing it. Or solar radiation management. If the weather gets hotter and hotter, which is bad for health, people will be more affected by heat stroke, or they may have disease like cancer, skin cancer. So to avoid that one, they may inject that tropospheric aerosol that like in this picture. Okay? It is that human beings are doing it. Alright, by that one, they are trying to minimize the effect of that sunlight. Okay? Good. And another thing is adaptation. So now it's clear, there is evidence that the weather is getting warmer, sea level is rising, okay, and weather is changing year by year. So now those specialists, they are warning, all nations, all right, if it's because it's an expectation. So now you have to get adapted for that. Those countries, which are closer to the sea level, all right, it's advised for them not to build their skyscrapers close to the sea. Because there is such possibility, it would be better for you, if you think about long term, to build it somewhere else. And people stay away from those areas. Okay? If the weather is getting hot in some areas, then you have to get adapted for that one by your air conditioners over there. Okay? And those countries, of course, their medical services should be in place when it is needed. Okay? And when that hot summer affected, the many people's, it took away many people's life in Europe, okay? Just in France, if I'm not mistaken, so many government officials, okay, they left their jobs. Okay? Because there was a lot of complaining. Why? Because they could do something to prevent those deaths. Okay? The Minister of Health, he immediately left his position, okay? And maybe that so many, they did, okay? Because they were able to prevent it, but they didn't. And another one is mitigation, so nations themselves, okay? They try to reduce greenhouse gas emission. Greenhouse gas emission is very important for the economy, okay? Without emitting, there isn't any economy that is able to grow. Economies are growing because they emit. Okay? Good. So, but now countries, they are trying to reduce that emission or replace it with some other, eco-friendly technologies. All right? At the same time, to also plan its natural capacity, we have to increase that capacity of our nature by planting more trees, which is able to absorb that gas. Okay? All right. If you consider, all right, all those emissions, one of the worst, scenario is caused by fossil fuel burning. Okay. And another one is, we have to reduce it. Instead of driving cars, we may use public transport or riding our bicycles if we are willing to do it. Okay. And using our alternative energy resources, for example, by replacing our coal-burning factory plants with wind powers or solar energy, which all of them, they are very, very costly, very costly. Okay, and we have had and pipe strategies, or if we have, even though we have those greenhouse gas emitters in our country, then at least we must use best quality filters, which is again is very, very expensive to install in all countries. Okay, that way this is the way that we may implement, but all of them, they have a lot of economic costs. Okay, good. So there are cost-effective strategies of climate change. One is emission charges. In lots of developed countries, mostly in European countries, okay, they implement that emission charges, which means if you want to produce, no problem, produce as much as you want. Okay? And if you want to pollute the environment, do it. No problem. But you have to pay for it. Okay? If you drive a small car in Europe, very small car, which engine is very small, which is causing very less pollution, right? For that one, you have to pay very small amount of tax. Okay? You have to pay. But if you drive that sports car with hundreds of that horsepower engine, which releases a lot of that fossil fuel, okay, that smoke, and at the same time it causes noise. For that one, you have to pay a lot more tax to the government. Okay?
If people smoke, they also pay that.
If people
Yes.
smoke,
Yes.
regarding smoke, I don't know, but there is no ban. If you are unable to smoke in any place. Okay, there are special places to smoke. Okay, if you just smoke in any place, for example, in our university, you cannot smoke in any place, right? Okay, good. So that, but in Europe they are doing, let's say in Germany, let's suppose they are implementing such emission charges, which means the German manufacturers, they are producing and they are paying tax to the government because they are polluting the environment. Yeah? Good. Is it good for us? Yes. Which makes their goods costlier. Which means that German manufacturers are today becoming less competitive because of their prices are increasing because of the tax. Okay? As a result, so if German, let's say, they were able to produce for $10, but now it became $15 because of that higher tax, let's suppose, right? So now German manufacturers are not able to compete with some other rivals.
GM.
Okay? With them, because their goods are more expensive. Alright. So when it's the case, right, do those producers like it? They don't like it, right? So therefore it causes from those countries capital flight. Capital flight. In order to avoid this $5 tax, they are investing to other countries, to those nations where there is no emission charges tax. Maybe that the employment, the labor cost is same, everything is same, but there is no emission charges. Okay, so just in order to decrease the price of their production. Okay, good. And the second one is cap and trade, okay, strategy, where countries they impose certain limits for pollution. For example, the United States, they have been implementing it, okay? In the United States, there are so many companies, right? And firms. All of them they are polluting the environment, right? Based on their production level, all right, the government may give them certain limit. Certain limit for the United States entire, let's say they are expecting 100 units of pollution. 100 units. Because this giant company is very important to the economy and they must produce more. For them, let's say they give 10 units, they can produce that much pollution. which means that they are not able to produce more than 10. For this one is 5, for this one is 2, 1, or whatever, all is 100. In this cap and trade strategy, let's suppose this, for this company, there is too much demand, okay, for their goods. In the middle of the year, they already reached this limit, which means if it's strict after that one, they don't have to produce anything after the middle of the year, right? So therefore, they made it flexible. How? For example, for the remaining year, they need extra 5, they expect to make it 15, right? They are allowed to buy these allowances from other companies. Let's say there is another company which is, the limit is 8, but they're using only 5 in 1 year, which means 3 allowances they remain for them. So this company can buy these allowances from them, okay? Or from other, they may buy another one. That way, they will meet the limit, okay? So they overall, by the end of the year, that 100 is reached, which is good thing, okay? So there is flexibility. Good. And another case, okay, that another one very important thing is that ozone layer depletion, right? Between the troposphere and stratosphere, there is ozone layer, right? That layer which we cannot see with our eyes, that shield is very important because it protects us from sunlight. Okay, it's sunlight. So if we don't have it, if we don't have this layer, we may have a lot of health issues. Not only we are, plants and animals too. Okay, good. So now, should we really stop the causes of ozone depletion? The answer is yes, right? Because it is directly causing to our health. All right? It causes skin cancer, eye cancer, okay, on people and animals, okay? And that, that infrared radiation causes the changes in the climate, whatever. Okay. For example, if you look, those ozone layer that gap, that the hole that we are causing, okay, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger year by year. Which means that now we are less and less protected from the sign of that harmful radiation. Okay? But, for example, maybe not, we don't have to protect. For example, if you consider the statistical evidence, in 1978, the US government, they banned using that chlorofluorocarbons in their production purposes. Okay? They banned, government. Because it's very important for production purpose, okay, and it reduces the cost, alright? When the United States before 78, okay, their market share was one and a half of the total world in terms of what industry, I don't know exactly, okay, in that. But after the implementation of this law, it reduced to 1/3. 1/3. Because government implemented, which means that now American people after 78, they were paying more tax, or they were buying for more expensive those goods. And plus, they were losing their market share in the world, which is bad for their wealth of the nation, right? Okay? So which means they have been experiencing all of those bad things, okay, they were regarding economical. Good. The question is, should the United States make that type of sacrifice? Should they do it?
Yes.
It was the only United States that they were implementing.
They can put tariffs on those countries which increase the ozone depletion.
Okay, so good, right? For example, in the US, right, which I implemented, their purpose is to reduce that climate issue. What about neighboring Mexico or neighboring Canada, which they are not implementing those policies, right? So if they, for example, emit all of those, smoke or whatever, the greenhouse gas, it still will travel to the US. Or America, Canadian will travel to America, right? There is still issue. So therefore, the answer is they have to sacrifice. Okay? And it is even better if it's US. Why? The United States is very strong economy. Okay? All countries, they are very interested to trade with them and be closer politically. So which means they have bargaining power to encourage other people, other nations to reduce those greenhouse gas emissions too, okay? For example, in 1998, 24 nations, strong nations, okay? They signed Montreal Protocol. And those 24 nations, they agreed to reduce the use of 96 type of chemicals that causes problem to the climate. Okay? And most probably, it was the United States, okay, who were initiating this idea. Alright, if you just think long term they were losing market share, there must be some way they have to also do the same. Why only we have to sacrifice? Everyone should sacrifice, yeah? Good. And the number of that Montreal protocol signatures has been increasing. Okay. And those nations, they were encouraging those developing poor countries to reduce those chemicals, use of those chemicals. Okay. For example, if you go to very poor countries, if you ask them, from now on you are not allowed to produce use those chemicals in your production purpose. Okay. Which means that those countries' economies are going to suffer a lot of economic difficulties. Without that one, it's impossible to run the economy. Okay? So therefore, knowing that issue, in 1990, okay, that countries, they established what? Montreal Fund. Which means that if those countries, other countries, member countries, they are reducing the 96 type of chemicals, which is going to disadvantage to the economies, right? So which means those disadvantages will be covered by Montreal Fund. It will be funded, okay? We know that you have to lose economically, but there is fund which is going to make your hardship easier, okay? All right. In 1992, United Nations, okay, they really acknowledged that cost-effective, okay, strategies of reducing, climate change was really good thing. They adopted. At that time, they acknowledged that it's good thing. That using that cap and trade policies, which also indication that before 1992 it was not considered as good strategy. For example, today, if you tell all nations, you must, okay, not should, you must replace your coal burning plants with eco-friendly energy generating plants. What will be the answer? The answer is, it's a good idea, but it's for us, it's not a way. It's really good idea, yes, but it's not for us. Okay? It's not for us. But at least if those governments, okay, they try to follow certain limits, all right, it's still, of course, it's not going to reduce pollution to zero, but still the level is controlled.
It will not increase.
Okay? Even though it increases by certain limit, not over production. Okay? And in 97, the Kyoto Conference, those industrialized countries, and including those, transition economies, okay, they agreed to legally binding emission targets, which means like targets for cost-effective strategy. Okay. And according to Kyoto Protocol, okay, those members, they have 5 years of commitment period. For example, if we consider that now, let's say Uzbekistan is a member of the Kyoto Protocol, right? According to that one, that pollution, okay, whatever the greenhouse emission level is measured in the 1990, they will consider that level, okay? Let's say it is 5 units. And within 5 years, okay, after 1995, they will again consider the 5-year average of that emission. If that emission is at least because countries should do their best, okay, so it should be lower than that level. Okay, they have to commit, so they have to show those statistics. Okay. Kyoto Protocol emission trading mechanisms. This is important. Okay, this one is important. First one is emission trading. So consistent with that Kyoto Protocol. So member countries, let's suppose Germany, Estonia, and any other members, okay? So those countries, they agree to follow certain limits. For example, German economy is very strong, okay? For them, 20 units of pollution, the emission of harmful gases is allowed to produce because it's big economy. Estonia, for the smaller economy, 10. For France, for example, 15. For other countries, different. Each country has its own limit. Okay? If, in the case of the previous example in the US case, if for German goods, okay, and services, there is higher demand, which means that this limit is not sufficient for them. Alright? So, and because they need some extra 5 units more, okay, to meet those, to produce more and meet the demand of those producers, they have to find these 5 extra allowances from somewhere else. Which means they will find it from some member states, okay, countries. For example, they use 10 or 5 and 5 is left. Which German they can buy it from these allowances from Estonia. That way they are able to produce more, okay? For Germans, let's say, if there is higher demand, if they reach this limit and they are not producing, okay, now we reach the limit, we have to stop production until the end of the year. Is it okay? No. No. Why? Because if there is higher demand for German goods, right? Because of this restriction, if they are not producing, these people who are willing to buy it, they will start buying other countries' brands. Which means that their global market share is going to get smaller. Okay. Second one is joint implementation. Let's suppose in this case, Germany, they need extra 5. And they need it from their member states, yeah? But they see that Estonia, they're using maximum, France maximum, other countries maximum. There is no extra allowances available. Alright? That for that purpose, because that extra production for Germany is very important, what do? They try to reduce pollution level in member states. For example, in Estonia, they will help to replace their coal burning plant with some eco-friendly plant. If they do it, for Germans will be given extra allowances for that pollution. Okay? Good. And the last one is clean development mechanism. The third one. Okay, in this case. So, both. All those countries, they reach their maximum. Okay? And there is no way for Germans to reduce pollution level in these member states because they are using the latest technology. Okay? So there is another option. Germans, In this case, they will help to reduce pollution, okay, level, or make climate change even more eco-friendly in the case of investing to non-member countries. So if they improve their climate there and they reduce pollution level in non-member countries, again they will be given those extra allowances for more production. Okay? Good. Alright. Complementary strategies, okay? Financing is one of the main important things, okay? If you really want to curb that climate change issue, we need financial resources, okay? So therefore, World Bank, for example, they established the Prototype Carbon Fund, okay, which is designed to invest, okay, to finance those industries which are planning to reduce emission of gases or reduce the climate change issue. Okay, this one. Let's say if you write a proposal to the World Bank and you have business plan, which is we are planning to reduce pollution problem in Uzbekistan. Okay, and it's really good the proposal. If you submit it to World Bank, okay, most probably you will get that funding. And global environmental facility is another funding project, okay, fund. So which means in this way, they provide loans or grants to those countries who are willing to reduce pollution issue or to reduce climate change issue. Okay, good. Let's suppose in China they're using all of this in many parts of China. They're using power plants, right? For example, coal burning power plants. What do you think if you tell the Chinese government, we want you to shut down all of your power plants today? Will they do it? They will not. Why? Because it's the main electricity generating factor.
Not only China, but they export some to other countries. So not only China will stop this case. Okay.
So which means they will not be willing. But if this kind of global environmental facility, if they come to Chinese government, okay, of course, we know that it's costly. Why don't you replace it with wind power? If you replace it, we are going to provide you with loan. Agree to do that one, okay? Okay. What about controversies? All of those, that mechanisms to reduce, climate change issue. All of them are not perfect, all right? Because they are going to be implemented if they will be really effective if there is good monitoring and checking. If you tell to one country, the limit is 100, let's say, units of pollution, how can you control it perfectly? Which is not possible, okay? This is one controversy. Good? And another thing is, the question is, why are some countries so reluctant to curb the problem of climate change? Some countries are very reluctant. Okay? Why? It's that timing issue. So some countries they consider that, okay, go slow or wait and see policy. Why? First one, okay? Why do they consider that type of policy? For example, if we want to reduce pollution level by, today, so who's going to bear the financial burden today? Who has to pay for that?
You can't.
We have to pay, right? We have to pay today because we are living today. We have to pay, which means that not future generations are going to pay. All right. So one reluctantness is people have to pay today, so they are really willing not to do it. Okay, good. Second one is replacing those energy producing facilities today by new one. It's too costly. So therefore, let's wait for 30 or 20 years. When that useful life is finishes, then we can replace it. Then it will be cheaper. Okay. And another thing is the last one is future technologies could be better. Who knows? Maybe after 10 years, one scientist can find certain, invent certain technologies, okay, which is able to just clean entire water and air with very low cost. All right. So some nation they say, okay, maybe it kind of technologies will be invented. Why do we have to spend a lot of money today if it's possible in the future? Okay, it's an answer. So the big question is, if we don't consider that climate change issue seriously today, who is going to suffer? It's our generation. Okay, it's good for future generation. So dear students, this book is available, I hope, from the library. Okay, you can read it, and our lecture is over. Now you can go.